I'd like to start out by asking you, our panel tonight is on the top diseases, and we have spoken about some, but there are some things that we don't talk about that much in public, and I was wondering if each of you would just share if you have any thoughts on what the research shows regarding these conditions. So let me read you a Washington Post article. It says, the headline in the article says, half of adults will get chronic kidney disease, model predicts. And I'm mentioning this because cancer, heart disease, and diabetes are the topics that are often talked about. Chronic kidney disease, to someone like me, is not really on the radar, and so I was wondering if you could comment. Just read you the first paragraph. It says, a new model predicts that about half of all people aged 30 and older in the United States will develop chronic kidney disease during their lifetime, a surprisingly large proportion for a condition that is not on the radar screens of many Americans. Writing in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases Monday, a team of researchers concluded that 54% of people the ages of 30, of people between the ages of 30 and 49 will develop the disease. The figure is 52% for people between the ages of 50 and 64, and 42% for those 65 and older. This compares to lifetime incidences of 12.5% for breast cancer for women, 30 to 38% for diabetes, and 90% for hypertension in middle-aged men and women, the researchers wrote. In 2020, 14.4% of all people 30 or older will have chronic kidney disease, up from 13.2% today. In 2030, the proportion will rise to 16.7%, the researchers say. It's a high number, and certainly the organizations that focus on kidney disease are trying to raise awareness of that number.
Next time, I'll suggest we start with you. Well, you heard earlier in the day the case study that Hans Diehl presented, which was actually one of my patients. And this illustrates one of the issues around kidney disease that perhaps is relevant to this conference. This woman who had 16 different conditions or diseases saw all 16 of them reverse during the 2 or 3 years that she was under my care and under the care of the lifestyle change program called the CHIP program. She was on the kidney dialysis waiting list, and her doctor told her that she would need dialysis. It was just a matter of time. We changed her diet to a whole foods, plant-based diet. The protein that she was eating was less than the total she had been used to eating, and it was plant-based rather than animal-based, and that's easier on the kidneys. And her creatinine, one of the measures of poor kidney function, dropped from 2.8 to 1.5 or 1.0. And so she was able to reverse that condition. And as a gastroenterologist, I was taking care of her GI problems in a way that would improve overall health. And that, for me, underscores one of the sayings, two of the sayings that I like. One is that intelligent self-care is the new primary care, because her doctor, her nephrologist, told her that he was not interested in seeing her lab results from this lifestyle change program because he would not be a part of her false hope that she would get kidney disease, and he just wouldn't be a part of it. And the second thing is the saying that you treat one, you treat them all. With the chronic diseases that Americans are facing, when you make a therapeutic lifestyle change, all these conditions begin to improve simultaneously. So not being a nephrologist, not owning a kidney dialysis center, not owning stock in the kidney dialysis center machine maker company, I can't tell you any more about it. But what I love is the fact that if I just do what's right for the patient, that's one of the conditions that improves.
I think that we have to realize that, diseases of the vascular system, it's all the same. It's whether it happens in the brain or the heart or the kidneys. A bad diet destroys our blood vessels to all of these vital organs. And, a couple of interesting things. Number one is that the Adventist Health Study showed that vegetarians and vegans have, I think it was either 50 or 52% less kidney disease, and then health-conscious non-vegetarians. So this is really important stuff. And I concur. I had recently a client who had, he had type 2 diabetes, was on 40 units of insulin and 17 medications. He was in early stage renal failure. He had peripheral artery disease, chronic gout. He had just had a major heart attack. He had, hypertension, you name it, he had it. And his kidneys were failing. And his doctor told him that he had a progressive, irreversible set of diseases. The only thing he could do was try to prolong his life, and he estimated that at most he would live 2 years. Well, what happened to this man was his son, at 36 years of age, was diagnosed with a salivary gland tumor. And the son happened to be at a conference that I was speaking at, and he asked me, could I help him? And of course I said I would help him. There were no guarantees with cancer, but we put him on a fairly high raw vegan diet, very well balanced, and he went into remission. But the coolest part of this, the most beautiful part of this, is his whole entire family adopted the diet that he was going on to support him in his journey. And his father adopted this diet thinking it would do absolutely nothing for him, because he knew he had an irreversible progressive disease, that nothing would help. And what ended up happening is, within fairly short order, within 6 months to a year, every single disease he had was gone. He is now on 0 insulin and 0 pills. He has normal kidney function. And the most wonderful part of this is he was, in his 70s. He said, I used to spend my days being in pain and taking insulin, taking pills, being dizzy, feeling sick, and knowing I'm going to die. Now I don't know what to do with all my time. I spend 2 hours a day at the gym. He said, I feel like I'm 25 years old. And he went to his physician and he said to his physician, why did you not tell me that this was possible? And his physician said, because I did not know it was possible. And he said, I do now. And so that really is the power that we have as individuals. This system is not going to change until we as consumers demand it changes.
Thank you. That's really good. I guess it's my turn to comment. I just wanted to make the point that most kidney disease isn't like my other two colleagues just said, they're not inherently diseases of the kidney per se. There are overall ill health of the body that affects the kidney as it destroys every other part of the body. The major cause of kidney disease is high blood pressure, putting pressure on the kidney, atherosclerosis, interfering with blood flow to the kidney, diabetes, which damages the cells of the kidney through the advanced glycation end products, and autoimmune diseases, where the immune system isn't functioning well, and it attacks the kidney through diseases like nephrosclerosis and lupus and other diseases that affect the kidney negatively. And so the kidney is just the end organ that gets damaged when the body isn't functioning or isn't healthy. And every one of those diseases that affects kidney function independently can be improved dramatically by nutritional excellence, by superior nutrition. And we're talking here about a diet that's rich in nutrients, nutrient-rich, nutritionally complete, hormonally favorable, and also plant-rich, right? Mostly where because animal protein puts a lot of pressure on the kidney and puts the kidney under stress, but also is excitatory to autoimmune conditions. And one thing I wanted to mention is that, and which we haven't mentioned yet, is that I have seen a lot of patients where they're diabetic nephropathy, and one of my most common referrals of specialists to my practice were from nephrologists. Don't get a lot of referrals from cardiologists and diabetologists and endocrinologists because they feel they're going to lose their patients, but the nephrologists, refer me a lot of patients, especially the diabetics, and they inevitably are very excited with the results. But what's most fascinating is watching people with autoimmune conditions, of the kidney get better, where people who have kidney failure from lupus, and I can up you on one of those creatinine stories, one of those people got well, which is quite fascinating. A young girl of 19 years old who was on the National Renal Transplant list waiting for a new kidney with lupus, whose creatinine was 4.2. So when she asked me if there was any hope for her getting well, I said, I don't think so, your kidney is shot. But she actually got well and earned a creatinine of 0.8 from a creatinine of 4.2, which was like, I couldn't believe that could happen. But I have seen over the years people with serious autoimmune conditions, including your specialty, including ulcerative colitis make recovery, people with ulcerative colitis make recoveries, and people with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis and scleroderma and all types of autoimmune conditions of the kidney and of the liver, autoimmune hepatitis as well, get well and have the team of doctors at the hospital always not say something as favorable or as respectful as that you said to you. Usually they say, oh, it's just something that happened. It was spontaneous remission. It had nothing to do with the diet. It couldn't possibly have been that. It's just spontaneously remission, that you just one of these things happened 1 in a million cases, you got well. And I said, I guess I just have to be very lucky. All these cases are happening in my practice, not in the regular doctors, but I guess it's just a matter of luck. Maybe it was just all luck. But
isn't it true you're a genie?
yeah, right.
Back in the 80s, excuse me.
Oh, you're hooked on that.
No, somehow it's not working. Back in the 80s, I awoke enough to start to recognize a trend with the African American community and the Hasidic Jewish community. They were the first people, they were the canaries in the mines with these kidney disorders. And when I looked at their diet, it was quite similar. The African American diet is not an African diet. Matter of fact, an African diet, in its authentic sense, is actually a pretty healthy diet. The Hasidic Jewish community are people who were the poorest among the Jewish population in Europe and lived in ghettos and pretty much ate similarly. High proteins, high fats. Everything is fat, animal fat. And sadly, it bloomed. It's not just these people today that have kidney disorders. As the statistics were just articulated by Stephen, if anything, I think they're conservative. Now, besides a vessel disease, where we're cutting blood flow off, here's my take on it, and here's exactly why animal proteins are a major culprit for this. Matter of fact, I actually believe if you removed animal proteins, the vast majority of kidney cases, other than the rare time where a kidney was injured and created high blood pressure, would probably be prevented. There are in all animal foods 3 elements that degrade all organs, but certainly the kidney. Now, most of you don't realize the kidney is very thin. Somehow, when I was growing up, I used to picture it being this really strong stainless steel thing that was there, but it's like paper thin, and it's mostly water. And nitrogen comes from these animal-based foods. Sulfuric acid comes from these animal-based foods, and uric acid does. And you can actually eat tissue with those. If we had enough of that in this glass, and we put our finger in it, long enough, you would actually see degradation of the tissue. So no wonder we're having such a vulnerable organ go south in half the population over the next 2 generations.
Just want to make sure you don't put your finger in my glass.
I know, I'll give you mine. The second thing is, let's tell the many listeners worldwide who may already have a kidney problem or know somebody, a loved one or a friend that does, you can't just get on a plant-based diet the way that we would be suggesting if you have a kidney disorder, because the kidney needs potassium. Ironically, once the kidney is not functioning, potassium will injure it. So you've got to go to the types of foods that are low potassium. One example is asparagus.
is a great, great vegetable, helps the kidney, and by the way, has low potassium. Whereas if I went and I took spinach and went one step further and took massive amounts of spinach juice, I could actually injure my kidney if I had a problem. So this has to be really worked. The person enduring this problem would have to work with a conscious physician who knows what he or she's doing and has enough experience with plant-based diets and this. And of course, we've had lots of that. Our medical team has had lots of that, but not everyone can come to Hippocrates. So search out the physician. Honest people like this are going to tell you, I don't know, or I do know, or I know somebody I can get advice from. But most alternative physicians would not know how to deal with kidneys. But you said something encouraging. People who work with kidneys are referring more people to you. So they must be realizing the dietary.
I think they saw the results, and they were impressed with the kind of results and kept sending patients. But I think that the point I was making, that interestingly, to find the nephrologists and the neurologists too more open to working with dietary methods and referring people, whereas the people, you know what I mean? Because for some reason they're more open than maybe the cardiologist and the endocrinologist. I was just in my experience for some reason.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I think inevitably everyone's going to become open, because if we have a failed system, as we're learning here, it's not they're bad people and good people and we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. It's not that simple. I don't know any doctor, and I know lots of doctors, who went into this for the wrong reason. When they were 18 and decided, I'm going to dedicate 12 years of educational life, I assure you it was because they were affected by the death of somebody close to them. They saw somebody suffer. And they were intellectually capable of enduring 12 years of that education. Now, I don't know any doctor, because I've talked to numbers of them, that thought when they went to get educated that the entire education, not the entire, but a great part of the education, would be involved with just writing prescriptions. I thought that they literally, most of them believed that they would be helping people, counseling people. They could spend a half an hour with a person. Unless you go into a private practice and almost have a boutique practice today, you can't spend an hour with a person. I'm sure that physicians here probably do that now, but ask them when they were in practice before they were alternative physicians if they could do that. You just can't. And God forbid if you work in a hospital today. I know two people that are hospital or ex-hospital administrators. One graduated at the top of her class at Yale. She said that we would get on top of the doctor if he spent more than 5 minutes with the patient. Now, you can't say anything in 5 minutes. Hello, goodbye, and I'm sorry. That's it.